Life Management Science Labs would like to acknowledge that we live and produce this podcast on the traditional lands of the Wurundjeri people. We'd also like to acknowledge the traditional owners of the lands of our listeners and our international colleagues. We'd like to pay our respects to their elders past, present, and emerging. Hey everyone, and welcome to Raising Parents, the Parenting Science Insights podcast, produced by Ellen Massell, the Life Management Science Labs. We are champions of life management science, providing structured insights informed by science and inspired by practice on key aspects of conscious living. Each week, we bring you scientific and practical insights on each element with the expert knowledge of professionals in the field. I'm your host, Dina Sargent. Let's get started. Hey guys, and welcome back to another episode. Now, it's important to look after all aspects of our health so you can be the best carer for your baby. But how? How is focusing on postpartum wellbeing empowering? Well, to help us learn about its importance is registered counsellor and postpartum support international coordinator for Singapore, Lilian Ong. Thank you so much for joining me today, Lilian.
Hi, thank you, Dina, for having me on the show.
Now, what I love seeing is when it comes to professionals, it's not just a professional aspect to it. There's a lot of personal experiences that you sort of combine when it comes to your work in the professional field. Now, as a counsellor, what is your role in encouraging parents to find their empowerment postpartum?
Yeah, I find that being a counselor, I'm very privileged to be able to journey together with mothers as they navigate the kind of challenges, whether it's emotional challenges or unexpected situations in caring for their baby. So yeah, I think this is really an important part of helping mothers find their place in this new role. Yeah, and supporting their emotions so that they can be in the best state to nurture the baby.
Mm-hmm. Now, what has been some of the most common frustrations parents and possibly children face when parents are trying to build their own well-being postpartum?
I think the one difficulty that stands out most is how do I have the time? So yeah, parents with young children will always tell you that there's like never-ending list of things to do. Yeah, so it's always a challenge finding time and also allowing themselves to like have a good rest or put themselves at higher priority, because a lot of parents, especially mothers, tend to put their children's needs first. Yeah, and then always pushing their own needs to the last. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. No, I think I agree with that. I always find like a lot of my friends when they have I remember my friend who had her first child, she was dealing with a lot of people commenting on how she should raise the baby, on how much care the baby should get, but no one really looked into what she would need. So the well-being that she would need to build up herself, like her strength back again after being pregnant. She was a big, she loved going to the gym. Gym was her biggest priority. So postpartum, she had to cut back down, which sort of didn't help her mentally as well, knowing that that was her routine, that she can't just go back in again. So it's like, I think a lot of people really forget. They think about, okay, yeah, a baby is a cool addition to the world. It's amazing, but dealing with the mother afterwards, and I think we really forget that in society. So it's a great look in today's topic when we're looking a bit about how to take care of the mother and also how mothers can take care of themselves as well. Before we discuss it, I love to get to know some of your recommendations and also some of your interests by playing one of the favorite icebreakers that we have on the show today. So the first question is, what's the most recent book that you've read?
The most recent book that I've read. Okay, I'm trying to read this book titled Positive Parenting. I think I've got so many books, but I haven't had the discipline to really sit down and read all the books that I have. Whenever I come across like an interesting title, I will try to make a purchase because I think that we can loan books from the public library, but the popular titles are not always available. So I prefer to have them in my collection. Then I can like take my own time to read them. And I sometimes even reread books that I've read before. It's like going back to the same place, but you don't always have the same kind of experiences, right?
Mm-hmm.
So I love having books, but it's a challenge having enough space to keep all the books that I have.
Oh yes, I feel that very, very much down to my core. I'm a big book buyer. I love buying books, but sitting
And I still
down
love
like you,
physical books. I'm not
yes.
so much into ebooks.
No, I can't do I tried the Kindle idea for a little bit and I just could not focus and I could not really sit down. It just reminded me that I need to check my phone every single time. So physical books are a great way to just sort of like take away technology for a little bit.
Yeah, I absolutely agree.
Now, how about a movie that you would recommend our viewers watch?
Okay. Well, I think that really depends on what your own interests are. So, um, but if you are into like human psychology and mental health, like me, one of the most recent movies that I watched is called A Man Called Otto, starring Tom Hanks.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so
Yep.
I'm not sure whether you've come across it, but I just happened to see it on the recommendations on my Netflix account.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I think the AI realized that I like films related to mental health, psychology. Yeah, so this is an interesting story about how this. I think he's like a 60-year-old man. His name is Otto, and he's become so bitter and grumpy ever since he lost his wife due to some unfair situation. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
and then so shortly after he lost his wife, then he also got like retrenched or like maybe kind of pushed into early retirement from the job that he
Mm-hmm.
loved so much. So that just added to his bitterness about life, and he was actually planning to he was actually planning to commit suicide in his
Mm-hmm.
house all alone. But then when this new family moved into the neighborhood, um, like each time he tried to take his life, something would occur with the new family coming to him for help. And through multiple situations, he found himself helping others because
Mm-hmm.
that's his nature. His nature is actually, to be connected to the people in his life, to help people. And through these opportunities that he got to help the new family and also some other people in public, and that's how he journeyed away from this desire to end his own life, and he found
Mm-hmm.
his way back into like appreciating life all over again. Yeah,
Yeah, no,
so really beautiful.
it's such a great film. I do not recommend watching it while you're on a plane. Um, I did that and I ended up crying, I think, halfway through the film. And it wasn't like a nice cry. It was a big, ugly cry at the fact that how much went through his life and looked how negative he looked at his life. And it's so heartwarming to sort of see the different changes that can go through to like how incidents come into your life to make you better, but you don't even
Yeah,
realize it.
yeah, yeah.
So yeah.
There's really so much about life that we can learn, no matter how young or how old we are. And I think that's why I'm so in love with psychology and counseling, and even the books that I read, the films that I watch. Yeah, I'm really just attracted to this theme.
No, that's so great, and I can definitely see the interest and the passion that you have for it as well. Now, could you name a podcast that stands out to you in any way?
Okay, I got to be honest. I actually haven't had much exposure to podcasts. I think
Okay.
because I'm more of a visual learner, so that's why I read books at my own pace and I even reread them sometimes, right? So I tried listening to a few podcasts, but I think it's just difficult for me to like register the information. Yeah, so I haven't really gotten into it. Yeah, so this is like the first podcast that I'm officially recording.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, that's so glad that we're your first ones.
Yeah, thank you for this chance.
Now, do you have a person that you look up to?
Okay, that's a difficult one. I honestly can't think of any specific person. Yeah. I think I'm just, I can be inspired by anyone, whether it's a fictitious character or a real life person, as long as there's something that I can connect with in that person's story. Yeah, I find that, yeah, it's another chance for us to learn something and to see how we can grow from other people's experiences.
Okay, so it's kind of like different people in different ways.
Yeah, at different times in my life.
Yeah, no, I'm very much the same with you. I can't list a single person, but I have different phases that really inspire me in different ways. So I'm very similar to you. Now, during your academic pursuit, is there a course or has there been a course that has really stuck to you and you've learned a lot and still remember learning it to this day?
Well, I think definitely it's all the counseling courses that I've been through, and also a course that taught me how to be a clinical supervisor. That's where we're able to support and guide other practitioners in their work. Yeah, because counseling is as much a science as an art. Yeah, so how we manage each interaction with each client. Yeah, I think there's so much skillfulness to it. We can never finish learning it all. We can never be perfect at it. Actually, it's just like parenting, right?
No, I agree with that.
Yeah. I think I think maybe that's why I'm so connected with this professional role that I'm in. Yeah, being able to support and guide other counselors, as well as like seeing how it's how I'm supporting parents that I work with. Yeah.
Yeah, no, I definitely see it, especially when it comes to counseling. It's definitely more of you have to be passionate for it rather than just, okay, this is the job that I want to do.
Yeah. In order to be good at it and help the clients feel that real connection, so that we can really work through the issues in a collaborative way. Yeah, we're bringing so much of ourselves into the work that we do. It's that human connection that actually forms a big part of like how effective this work is going to be. Yeah, that's why I feel like AI can never replace us.
No, never. As good as it tries, it can never do that. Now, we're going to be talking a little bit more about parenting today, as on the parenting show. I know that everyone has a very different definition as to what parenting and what being a parent means to them. What would your definition of parenting be for you?
Right. Yeah. So this is actually coming from my own experience as a parent and together with my professional experience. I've come to realize that parenting is really about supporting our child's growth, supporting and guiding them in their growth. And growth takes place over so many years. It's largely in their like childhood development from infancy to like the teenage years. But I think all parents will probably tell you that no matter how old their children are, even in their children's adulthood, right? Like we never stop being a parent. Yeah, but it's important to learn like how our role needs to change, our approach needs to be adjusted as our children go through different phases of their life. So it's never about like what we want to mold our children to be, but our children would have their own life path. But we're mainly there as a support and guide for them. Yeah, and for them to feel secure and safe enough to like turn back and look to us for any guidance when they want that.
Yeah. I love that perspective, and I think we sort of, I know that like I said, everyone has a very different definition, but I think that definition is probably one of my favorite ones. And I've heard that, it's so good that I hear that quite often on this show, because I think a lot of people have that perspective and have a similar perspective. And I think it's amazing that we do, because it sort of ends up becoming the universal definition to being a parent, is sort of just being the guidepost, being the person that they can fall back to and rely and know that they can rely on. So it's so good that we have that perspective. A lot of us have that perspective as to what parenting and being a parent is.
Yeah, I think this is probably one of the biggest lessons that a lot of people learn as they go through parenthood themselves. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And speaking of going through parenthood, what do you think that expectant parents need to be aware of during that transition into being a parent?
I think it's quite a common question for expectant parents to be wondering, like, actually, am I really prepared for parenthood? Mm-hmm. Yeah, and then with the amount of information that we easily have available nowadays on the internet, a lot of parents in this generation also try to read up a lot. During the pregnancy, they try to read up on how they can like provide the best environment to nurture baby in the womb, and how best to care for baby after baby is born. And there are also like parenting workshops for people to sign up, right? Mm-hmm. But I think what's most important for expectant parents to remember is whatever you read and learn through these like formal programs or through hearing from other parents, just take them as like reference information. Okay, don't allow yourself to fall into that trap of taking that information as the golden rule. Because when you take the information as a rule, as the expectation that you need to live up to, then it becomes very pressurizing. Yeah, because in reality, every child is unique, and every family's circumstances are also unique. So what works for someone else, you can't just take it as a standard template and apply it to your own journey of raising your child and expect it to work the same way. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so I think the flexibility and allowing yourself to learn on the job, that is one of the key things that I always share with expectant parents.
Yeah, no, I think that's such an undervalued approach to it. Like, I think a lot of my friends over-prepared when they had a child. They got so many clothes, they knew exactly how often they needed to change the child. Like, they were very aware of a lot of things, but they also overestimated how much they would actually need and how much they would actually use.
Yeah, and especially when it's clothes, right? Babies actually grow very fast. So the clothes, it's nice to have like some new sets of clothes, because like everyone's excited about having a new baby addition to the family. Yeah, but actually, among all the things that you spend on, I think clothes can really be lower priority. Yeah. Take hand-me-downs. Sometimes they're more comfortable after repeated wears and washes, right? Yeah. But actually what you said just brings to mind like how a lot of parents tend to focus on the hardware. Mm-hmm. Yeah, like items, the items to buy, getting babies nursery ready, all the baby items, clothes, diapers. Okay, what are all these things that we need to care for baby? But a lot of parents also don't realize that the emotional preparation for themselves is also important. Not that you have to feel 100% ready, because I don't think it's ever possible to be 100% ready emotionally. Yeah, but at least having some awareness to notice what are the thoughts and emotions coming up for you as you go through that pregnancy journey and that immediate postpartum period? Yeah, noticing what are the kinds of emotions that come up for you and learning how to work through those emotions, how to get support. Yeah, I think that emotional prep is as important as all the physical things that you're getting for your baby.
Mm-hmm. And now we're going to be hearing this term quite often throughout the show, but I would love to get the definition of what the term is first. The term empowering motherhood, and like how that context really means, what it means to you in the postpartum period.
Yeah, I think it's a very important emphasis to talk about empowering mothers, because a lot of the mothers I work with in counseling, they come forward seeking help for their emotions because they feel so overwhelmed,
Mm-hmm.
with like new unfamiliar emotions that they're experiencing, and also challenges, situations that just don't go according to the book, right? Like when you go for parenting workshops, they tell you this is how it's supposed to be when you breastfeed your child, or when you monitor the feeds and the sleep patterns. This is how it's supposed to look like. But then in reality, it can be so different.
Mm-hmm.
So new mothers often find themselves feeling overwhelmed with all the uncertainty and unexpected situations, and all these emotions that include a whole mixture, like positive and negative emotions. You have some joys, you have some guilt, frustration, confusion, anxiety. Yeah, so all these emotions can really make the new mom feel overwhelmed and lost. Like what do they focus on? How do they get through all these difficulties? What do they do with all these feelings inside them and still have to attend to the needs of the baby? Yeah, so
Mm-hmm.
I think that whole process of adjusting to being a mother with all the responsibilities and expectations and emotions to deal with just puts a lot of mothers like off balance, and they feel like, oh, suddenly my life has spun out of control.
Mm-hmm.
How do I get back that sense of control? So I think the idea of empowering moms really helps to encompass all that we try to do when we support moms in this transition.
Mm-hmm. Like especially the emotional transition of understanding that, okay, now I had to get used to being pregnant first. Now I have to get used to actually taking care of someone else. And I guess the
Not being
reality.
responsible for another life. Sometimes
Exactly.
just that itself weighs so much on the mother, starting
Mm-hmm.
from the pregnancy. Yeah, they feel like whatever I eat, whatever I do, I have to be so careful, make sure it doesn't harm my baby in any way.
Mm-hmm. So what are the common, I know that you've mentioned some of the sort of fears that sort of come about, but what are some of the other common like scare questions that they usually have when it comes to like, oh, am I eating enough, or is the baby eating enough? Like, what are some of the usual freakouts that postpartum mothers really get?
Okay, so if we zoom into the postpartum period,
Mm-hmm.
okay, breastfeeding has been recommended as like the best nutrition for baby, right? But one challenge about breastfeeding is that, especially when you're directly latching baby, you can't tell how much baby is drinking, right? If
Okay.
it's not from the bottle, then you can't tell exactly how much is going into the baby.
Mm-hmm.
So it becomes hard for you to be sure whether baby is drinking enough. Yeah, and
Okay.
the only way that babies can communicate is through crying. So especially in the first few months, it takes time for parents to observe and understand the different kind of cries that baby is giving you.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so in the beginning, like every time baby cries, you'll be wondering, oh, is it because he's hungry, or like he needs comfort, or needs a change? So there's like all these all these times you have to go through guessing and learn through trial and error and observation. Yeah. So this uncertainty, I think, is one of the key challenges that parents have to first adjust to.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
Okay.
because every other job in the world, like you work with adults who can like tell you what's going on, or like there are procedures in place to tell you what to do when this happens, that happens. Yeah, but when you're looking after a baby, everything is by observation and learning from experience. So that takes time, and this sense of uncertainty is really something that new parents have to learn to deal with first, and then give themselves time to understand their child better.
Mm-hmm. And especially like when it comes to the mother themselves, how does prioritizing their own well-being contribute to their sense of empowerment?
Yeah, I think very often, no matter how we try to have like equality of roles, it's just quite natural that mothers tend to be the main caregivers, especially in the first few months of the child's life.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. And sometimes the way society puts these kind of expectations and the way people define, like, oh, what is maternal instinct? What is a mother's role? It just makes women feel like, oh, just because I'm a woman, I'm naturally supposed to know how to look after my baby, or I'm naturally supposed to know like exactly what is the right thing to do in each moment. But that's just not true.
Okay.
Yeah. So a lot of these expectations coming from society, coming from people around them, and even expectations that women have internalized on themselves, really places a lot of pressure for moms to feel like, okay, they need to know what to do. They need to be able to take care of this new vulnerable person in their lives. So this can bring about a lot of stress. So there's so much focus on like whether baby is getting enough nutrition, baby is being cared for in the best way. So people just tend to forget that being a new mom, mothers are also having to cope with all these changes in their life. Yeah. So when we bring the focus back to mother's well-being, it then helps mothers to feel that, hey, it's okay and it's necessary to focus on themselves. How are they feeling? How are they coping? Yeah, what do they need to recharge themselves so that they can continue giving to their baby? Yeah. Because caregiving is really giving, and you don't always get the rewards back immediately. Yeah, in parenting, a lot of the rewards come down the road. It's not like your child will immediately give you a big bright smile and say, oh, thank you. Yeah, I feel so satisfied after a good feed. You don't always get that. Yeah.
Okay.
So it's important for us to, as a society, really to shift the focus in a more balanced way, not just looking at baby's needs, but what about the mother's needs, or both new parents as they look after their baby. What are these new parents also requiring to like have a good sense of balance for themselves so they can continue providing the best care for their child?
So as your role as a counselor throughout that process, are you basically sort of trying to validate a lot of the concerns that mothers are usually having throughout that period, or just validating their own emotions and their own intensity of emotions as well?
Yeah, that's such a great question. I think in counseling, whether it's in the context of parenting or other issues, emotional validation is like the foundation of what we do.
Okay.
Yeah, because when people feel that they're heard, they're understood, that their emotional experiences are being understood, then that in itself already relieves some of the burden that you're feeling. Yeah, because it's very isolating, it's very lonely to feel that, hey, no one else around me understands what I'm feeling. Am I the only one feeling like that? And especially now when like social media is so commonly used, people tend to compare their experiences with other people based on what they see on social media. But that is so not representative of reality.
Yes. No, I think we can all attest to that at some point of our lives we're always sort of comparing our lives to social media, and especially when it comes to, I think even me and some of my friends, when we have conversations, we see a lot of the Instagram videos of like their houses being so clean and like everything, all the dishes being done, and like their whole spaces, their common spaces are just so neat and tidy. And then when you look in your reality, it's like a completely different aspect.
Yeah, and that just makes us feel like, oh, is there something wrong with me? Why can't my house be as clean and neat as what they have?
Yeah. I mean, I look at a lot of family YouTubers or family vloggers, and their houses are amazing. And I'm here living alone, and I'm just staring at my house like it's not clean at all. Like even me, just one person, it's not exactly the way. And they have about like 3 or 4 kids and still manage to keep their house clean. And then like the reality of their lives probably could be just that area of their space is clean, the part that they photograph, and then behind them is a complete mess.
Yeah, as viewers, we tend to forget like how much preparation actually goes behind the scenes. Yeah, before people post a video or even a photograph on social media. Yeah, there's preparation that goes behind that.
Yeah, exactly. So now talking about some of the milestones and achievements that mothers should be celebrating, could you list some of the milestones in the postpartum journey that mothers can celebrate on a day-to-day basis that sort of helps their own empowerment?
Yeah, I love what you said, on a day-to-day basis. Yeah, because that's exactly what I would advocate. Yeah. A lot of times parents tend to think of milestones in terms of the child's development, like at the 1 month mark or 3 months, 6 months. What is the child able to do at that time? But actually for our well-being, it's really important to look for like smaller milestones that we can recognize our efforts, celebrate all the small wins along the way. That's what can help to motivate us, keep us going, help us remember like, hey, actually that there are good moments too. Because actually the human mind has this natural cognitive bias that we look out, we pay more attention to negatives, like what are the problems, areas to improve. Yeah, evolutionary, there is a reason for that, so that we can look out for dangers and problems, solve it, so we can survive and get better as a species. But then when we use such a rule for our day-to-day experiences, it can easily become quite stressful and even depressing. Yeah, when we only notice like the problems and we forget that there are actually good moments too. Yeah, so I always encourage parents to look out for like small, no matter how small or how brief, okay, learn to pay attention to those positive moments. Like, after feeding your baby, baby just settles into a nice nap in your arms, or just looking so content, you know, that angelic look on baby's face when they're taking a nap. Even if you know, like, okay, based on experience, okay, you've noticed that baby usually doesn't sleep for like more than 2 hours, but focusing on moments, just that moment in time. What do you see? Yeah, what do you feel when you're holding baby in your arms? Yeah, just being able to complete a feed without much fussing from baby, or being able to settle baby after a period of crying and baby settles into a nap. being able to have 5 minutes of quiet time to yourself. So all these are little moments that you can look for throughout the day and really help yourself to pay attention to it and savor it while it's there. Yeah, these are the ways we can really like celebrate and help ourselves to keep going.
Yeah. There should really be a parenting version of a baby milestone book of like the parent milestones that they were able to go through.
Yeah. That would be so helpful.
Yeah.
Yeah, helping parents to see what are the milestones that they have overcome. Yeah, because especially in the first few months, let's not talk about like baby's 1 year birthday, right? Some
Yeah.
parents can't even imagine getting through the first 6 months or the first 3 months. Yeah, because actually the for a lot of parents, the most challenging period, simply because there's so much to adjust to, so many changes that they have to adjust to. In the first 3 to 4 months, some people even like call it the fourth trimester, right? After baby
Okay.
is born, like baby
Yeah.
still has to, baby is adjusting to the external environment, and there's so much that goes into helping baby to adjust to all these changes. Yeah. So for parents to go through the adjustments themselves and find ways to cope, I think that first few months is one major milestone for parents. Yeah, to give themselves a huge pat on the back, celebrate that, yay, I've survived the first 3 or 4 months.
And talking about some of the common challenges, I know that you've listed some a little bit earlier, but what are some others that mothers and fathers face throughout that period of the postpartum phase? Not only just the emotional aspect, but also what the like sort of the societal aspect of it as well.
I think just learning how to work as a team, yeah, between the new mother and father, or whoever else you have in the family, your immediate support network. Because definitely that old saying that it takes a village to raise a child, that is so true. Yeah, it's not realistic to depend on one caregiver because there's just so much to do around the clock. It needs to be a shared responsibility. So how do you work together as a team, whether it's with your partner or with the rest of the family? Because different people are going to have different ideas on like, how do we respond when baby cries? Okay, what's the how fast do we even respond? There can be differences between different family members. Like, you know, some people might think that, oh, it's okay to let baby cry for a while, and then we like, you know, gradually go into the room to see what baby needs. And then some people might be like having a greater sense of urgency, and they want to like respond very quickly and pick baby up the moment he or she starts crying. So a lot of these nuances to how we look after baby, there's really no gold standard. Yeah, I always go back to the idea of balance.
Okay.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
finding that balance is an ongoing process. Yeah, like how quickly do you respond to baby? Like when do you feed the baby? If you're trying to get baby into a regular routine so that things become more predictable, how can you try to like manage the feeding time? How can you try to like teach baby to wait just that, you know, half an hour more? Yeah, how can you get baby to sleep? And so babies cry, right? That's the only way that they can communicate. And babies cry for so many different reasons. Even though we think that the key things we try to look out for is whether baby is hungry, whether baby is needing comfort due to like some gas in the tummy, or baby has soiled their diaper and needs a change. But very often, especially in the first few months, babies can cry just because they feel like overstimulated, or that there are emotions going on that they don't understand, obviously. And even though when we pick baby up, we try to rock baby, try to like sing a nursery rhyme, whatever we do to try and soothe baby, despite our best efforts, sometimes baby still continues crying. I think that's one of the biggest challenges that new parents will face. Yeah, and
So-
that sense of helplessness, like, oh, I've already tried everything, but I still can't stop baby from crying. So parents tend to feel so helpless and not just helpless, sometimes they really have these exact thoughts, right? I'm such a useless parent. I can't even help my child when they cry. Yeah, but actually that's something for parents to learn, that even if you can't stop your child's cries, just being there, continuing to be there, helping your child sense your presence is already helping them to feel safe.
Okay. So is it important to have that conversation with your partner and also the support network that you have about how you want to have your child raised, or how you want to have your child, so like if you want them to be picked up immediately, or if you want them to let them self-soothe for a little bit? Is it important to have that conversation with them?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think open communication and ongoing communication is so important throughout the parenting journey. Yeah, because you want some consistency. Of course, it's still quite it's still okay for each caregiver to have their own style when they are looking after the child, but within the family, you want to have consistency to some extent, so that because children, especially young babies, young children, they do thrive on consistency and routines, knowing roughly what to expect. So it doesn't have to be like right down to the exact nitty-gritty details, but at least roughly knowing what to expect. That gives a sense of calm, not just for the baby, but for everyone who's involved. So there won't be like conflicts because, oh, you're not respecting what I want for the child, and I'm the mother. So I think it goes back to the idea of empowering the mother. Yeah, because sometimes when other family members with all their good intentions, they might actually come in and help the mother by imposing their own ideas on how things should be done. But that really makes the mother feel like, oh, their powers are being taken away.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that communication and respect and being able to talk things out, I think also helps the new mom understand better what are her expectations. And sometimes just talking it out also helps the mom understand that okay, what I think should be done maybe is just one of the perspectives. It may or may not have to be this way. We can talk things out, and we can like help each other understand what's going on, what works, what doesn't work. Yeah, and make adjustments along the way as a family. I think that's also crucial to providing a healthy environment for the child's growth.
Now, dealing with the empowerment that sort of we're trying to promote in mothers internally, how can mothers really balance work and motherhood?
Oh, that is such an important question. It's a really big dilemma a lot of working moms face today. Yeah, so in our current society, so many women are used to having a career before they go into motherhood. Yeah, so whether you decide to like put your career on hold and be a full-time mom for a period of time, or you decide to like juggle work and family needs, it's really not an easy decision. Yeah, and whichever decision you choose, it comes with a lot of a lot of difficulty trying to juggle, like, how do you let go of one part of yourself? Because even if you decide to continue working, as a new mom, it's a fact that we only have so much time and energy in a given day, right? So it's really impossible to give 100% of yourself at work and also 100% of yourself to your baby.
Yep, that's true.
So something has got to shift. And just going into this mindset that I have to adjust my expectations, how much I can give at work, how much I can give to my child. Just coming to terms with that, I think it can be a process that really takes time and takes a lot of emotional processing for a lot of moms. Yeah, but it's really not a topic that moms and families between husband and wives are so aware of and able to like really just bring it out into consciousness and discuss about it. So sometimes women find themselves like only being able to talk about it when they seek professional help, because there's just this sense that people around them, whether it's their family or like some expectations from their workplace or general expectations in society, like just get in the way of, they feel like there's no space for them to really be honest and talk about like what they want. Yeah, of course, mothers may know that they can't always get things exactly the way they want it. But then for them to come to terms with such adjustments, there needs to be a safe space for them to talk through and process all these emotions. So within their network, if they can't have that safety to talk about things, then sometimes that struggle can really put a lot of emotional stress on themselves.
So then I guess like because work would get them to choose work, for example, and then society or family members would get them to choose the child over work. So like having that's probably what the best part of your job is sort of helping them really discuss what they want to do and sort of take their, because I know like a couple of my friends who chose to leave their job and stay at home, they're like, there's no way that they could have balanced the both of them. And they knew that right from the get-go, they knew that this was going to be, they wanted to raise the child. They knew that that was what they wanted to do. And having that conversation with themselves, saying that, okay, like these are friends who went through all the way to their master's degree in order to get the job, in order to get the career that they really wanted to do, and suddenly having to accept, and even just like, in a way, I think my friends were mourning the fact that they left what they've built their entire life to do behind just to raise a child. And they were mourning that for quite a long time. That was like a big thing with them. And it was really sad for them, but also but they knew that this is what they wanted to do.
Yeah. So the word mourning is really so appropriate because it is a loss. Yeah, it's loss of a part of their identity, who they are as a person. It's not. It doesn't mean that when you become a mom, then your whole identity is only revolving around being a mom. Yeah, like you said, what they have achieved in their life until this point, right? That their studies, their work, how far they've come in their career. Yeah, that meant a lot to them. Yeah, because all the effort that you put in over the years, definitely that means something. Yeah, and to put that aside, even if you know that one day you can get back to your career, but it is still really, putting your career on hold. And not just on hold, but the reality is when full-time mothers eventually want to get back into the workforce, a lot of them feel like they have taken many steps back because all their peers are continuing to progress, right? But that time away from the workforce really sets them back. Yeah, so it's a sacrifice, even though like you said, they very much want to be the full-time mom at that point in their life, right? But that doesn't take away the fact that they have to give up something, and it is a loss that they have. They need that time and space to come to terms with.
Yeah. It's a really difficult decision, and I could not imagine being the person having to decide between the two, especially after everything. And it's so incredible to sort of see how people really come to terms with that. And I've seen that firsthand as how some of my friends have decided that, and their priorities sort of shift. I think we spoke about priorities a little bit earlier in the show as well.
Yeah,
So now,
priorities. It's always hard to decide. Like it's
yeah,
like really choose one over the other.
exactly. Exactly. So now we're going to be looking into some of the practices and habits that you implement yourself. So what is a practice that you do to motivate yourself to find that balance between the professional life and the personal life?
Yeah, I think what I shared earlier about bringing a lot of ourselves into the counseling work that I do. Sometimes it's really hard to have that kind of like boundary between personal and professional life. So I find that it's really important to just regularly ask myself, like, hey, how's my balance recently? Like just a check in with myself, to have a sense of like, hey, am I getting enough time to myself? And overall, how is my well-being, and how am I balancing all the different parts of my life that really matter to me? Yeah. So I think mindfulness has really helped me to maintain that balance over the years as a counselor, as a parent. Yeah. Of course, I'm not saying that I'm always like perfectly mindful,
Yeah.
but that's how mindfulness is. It's like always ongoing practice throughout our lives, and it's just something that we can go back to and remind ourselves, like, to have pauses in between all these things that we're doing, right? Not just always focusing on the external tasks and responsibilities and do, but having pauses to really tune inward, connect with ourselves, and just be. Yeah, I think that's the greatest difference that mindfulness brings into our lives. Yeah, helping us to shift away from doing and connect with just being. Yeah, and connecting with like noticing how we are in this moment. So that with that awareness, then we can see whether there are parts that are not balancing, and then we can make adjustments. We can help ourselves like take care of whatever those needs are, and that's how we regain a sense of balance. Yeah, and mindfulness doesn't have to be like sit down formal meditation kind of practices.
Okay.
Yeah, that's what I used to think before I really understood more about mindfulness. Yeah, I thought it was just meditation, but over time I've learned that we can like really build in mindfulness practices in our day-to-day routines. Yeah, the other day I was sharing with a client, like even just brushing our teeth, we can do it mindfully. When we're taking a shower, we can do it mindfully, because we don't realize how often our mind just goes off to other things and it's not on the present moment. So when brushing your teeth, you could be like thinking of like what you have, what you have gone through the whole day, and then like which parts didn't go so well. So it could be like, dwelling on what happened during the day, or it could be like thinking, what do you have later on, or the next day, how busy it is going to be. Yeah, but if we could just take that moment to be with ourselves as we're doing the current activity, it really helps to like slow our minds down. Yeah, it's in that moment, you actually help yourself to set aside everything else and just be quiet and just connect with what you're doing for now. That is
Okay.
so freeing for the mind.
Yeah. So I
Yeah.
guess it's important to be honest with yourself when it
Yeah.
comes to the practice as well.
Yeah. Being
Okay.
honest and really connecting with what's happening in this
Hmm.
moment. Yeah.
Okay. So how often do you try to practice just the idea of just the concept of being mindful?
I really try to practice it in small ways,
Hmm.
every day.
Okay.
Every day. Yeah. Even if it's just a short practice, like being mindful as I walk from one place to another, like
Hmm.
going from my home to the bus stop or train station, just reminding myself to put my phone aside. Not just put it into my bag, not even hold my phone in my hand. Because when the phone's in the hand, there's this temptation to like just have a look and see, what messages can I reply, or what information can I read while walking, make the best use of time. That's what we've gotten so used to. But actually, it's very, very helpful to do one thing at a time. And you can
Hmm.
use small opportunities like when you're walking or when you're,
Okay.
when you're having a drink.
Hmm.
Yeah, so just reminding yourself to, hey, do that one thing in this moment and set aside everything else, just connecting with how it feels when I'm walking. Yeah, each footstep that lands on the floor, how does that
Hmm.
feel like? And noticing my body posture, noticing the pace that I'm walking.
Hmm.
Because
Yep.
sometimes a lot of our behaviors actually just happen because it's habitual. So I
Yep.
could get into a habit of like rushing through my whole day and just trying to do everything fast because in my mind, there's so many things that I need to complete. But that behavior of rushing actually also perpetuates it. It maintains that sense of stress
Hmm.
that I'm just not able to relax.
Yep.
Yeah. So if I can remind myself to just notice how I'm walking, and if there's no real need to rush, then remind myself to, hey, just slow down and walk at a leisurely pace, even if everyone else around me is rushing.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yep.
Do what I really need to do in that moment. Yeah. Not just going along because, yeah, everything else seems to be pulling me in that direction, but I can choose how I want to be in each moment.
Hmm. And
Yeah.
how do you find that this practice
Mhm.
sort of helps or impacts your parenting?
I think regularly practicing mindfulness in these ways, right? Just because then it becomes a new helpful habit that
Okay.
I can, with regular practice, then any moment I can easily remind myself like, hey, hang on, okay, let's connect with what's happening right now instead of
Hmm.
like thinking 10 steps ahead and worrying about what's going to happen later. If I don't do this right with my child, then what's going to happen a few days or months down the road. We get so caught up in all these anxieties about the
Hmm.
future. But actually, what matters most is right now, how we are interacting with our child right now.
Hmm.
That's really what matters most, and what we have the most control over is right now. Yeah.
Yep.
So this regular practice of being mindful and connecting with what I'm doing right now, I apply it in all my parenting interactions with my
Hmm.
child. And that helps me to really regulate my own emotions. And then I'm able to have the most, I would say, the most present kind of interaction, and maximize the connection that I have with my child in that moment.
Okay. No, that's a really interesting, and I've heard of like the impact that mindfulness has in a lot. Like I think a lot of people sort of say the same thing when it comes to their own practice of trying to go through, like be present in the moment, just try to ignore. And I think like I love saying that we use our phones, like you mentioned earlier, we use our phones to fill up that void, or we use a conversation with someone to fill up a void of complete uncomfortable silence with ourselves quite often. So having that, like being mindful, for me, like I try to practice it at least once a day, just sort of sit there and just not do anything, just sit there.
Yeah, even if it's for a short 1 minute, right?
Exactly, yeah. I try to
Yeah,
do that, like, because I know I have, like, I used to have this huge need to constantly be on my phone or just
yeah.
constantly
Occupy
hold
ourselves
something.
with something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So having that mindful, like now practice, putting it into practice, there's such a difference in my constant need to fill up a space or constant need to do something and have my hands moving or my brain being used constantly. So it's a nice change of pace when you practice it in an everyday sense.
Yeah, it's a change of pace that allows our mind to have some downtime, which is important. Like if you think about it, even machines need to be shut down regularly and then restarted again, right? So
Exactly.
when we practice mindfulness, it's like how we shut down our minds and then reboot it again so it can be fresher.
Yes. Yes, exactly. So this moves on to the next part of the show, which is our open mic. This gives you a chance to talk about something that you are passionate about, something that you want our audiences to be aware of, or just a current thought that you've had that you want to share with our audience. So in the last minute or so, I'd love to give you the floor and just sort of share what's on your mind.
Okay. Okay. Thanks for this time. And I'm just taking a moment to connect with what is standing out in my mind after this whole conversation. I think what stands out is really a key point that I really carry through in all my counseling work, which is also one of my personal values. This idea of continuous learning and growth. Yeah, so I think whether we're talking about parenting or just how we're living our lives as an individual, there's so much value in continuous learning and growth. And having this kind of mindset helps us to see that, no matter what mistakes we've made in the past or whatever happens in our life that wasn't ideal, okay, that's just one portion of our experiences, but there's really so much more that we can still learn and we can find different ways to do better, to live better, for the rest of our lives. So I think no matter what we are focusing on in our life, it's really, really helpful to hold on to this idea that we can keep learning, we can keep growing. Yeah, and I think it really fits in with what I really connect with in psychology, especially for the areas of mindfulness and positive psychology, because this is how we can help ourselves to live a fulfilling life. Yeah, by looking at what else we can learn, how else can we grow. Yeah. So this is what I hope to share with our audience. Yeah, I hope that helps you in your life as well.
No, that's such an amazing way to sort of sum up the show and to end our, like, sort of a last message for our audience to really learn something from and really take into their everyday application as well. I think it's important for us to really take a step back of our own lives and just sort of take a minute for ourselves at least. So, no, thank you so much for sharing that. And also, thank you so much for being on the show today. It was amazing having you on and sort of learning a whole lot more about how to empower, how important it is to empower women throughout the postpartum process. I think it's something that, like I said earlier in the show, we don't talk about as often. And I'm really glad that we got to promote it on the show today and we got to talk about it a lot more.
Yes, thank you for this opportunity and doing this theme of parenting, helping parents to see, the importance of well-being. Yeah, this is so important. Yeah.
No, I agree. I'm so glad that I got to have you on the show today. If there's a way that audiences would like to get in touch with you, like to ask some further questions or to have a deeper conversation as to what we had on today on the show, is there a contact information that I'm able to give out?
Yeah, I'm certainly happy to expand these conversations in any ways possible. Yeah, so viewers can go to my website, which is wellnessjourney.sg. Yeah, and they can also reach out to me on email, lilian@wellnessjourney.sg. Yeah, I believe you'll be able to put that in the comments as well, right?
Yes, we should be able to. And we'll be able to add that into our show notes below, which is going to be, it's just going to have a long list of resources available for that we've spoken about today as well. So I think that's going to be such a great way. And thank you so much, Lilian, for joining me on the show and for talking about this. It was such an important conversation to have, and I'm glad that we got to have it.
Yeah, thank you for having me here.
No, it was our pleasure having you on. So thank you guys so much for listening. I'll see you all in the next episode. You've been listening to Raising Parents, the Parenting Science Insights podcast, produced by the Parenting Science Labs, a division of LMSL, the Life Management Science Labs. More episodes are available from 10 life management perspectives and can be found by searching LMSL on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Spotify, and other podcasting apps available on your devices. If you enjoyed this episode, please consider rating our show, sharing it, and subscribing to our channel, as it helps other people find it so that we can grow and bring you more quality resources. More of our work can be found on our website at pa.lmsl.net, where you can join our movement. I'm Dina Sargent. Thanks for tuning in.